Welcome to Inner Healers, a radio show dedicated to bridging science and spirituality by sharing the latest news on integrative health and overall well-being from a spiritual standpoint. My name is Luciana Stiglitz. I'm a bachelor in alternative medicines and the producer of Inner Healers radio show. I will be your host in this adventure to remember you can heal from within. You are an inner healer. Today, our very interesting topic is releasing fear. And to talk about this with you, we have invited a very special guest. She's already been with us before, so maybe you remember her from our previous shows. Her name is Shelley Dressel. Shelley, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so very much. Luciana and I were already talking for a few minutes and saying, we go far back. We've known each other for a very long time, and we've been through this process of change for a long time. And she's such a lovely, beautiful, warm energy. It's just lovely to be here again. If I'm a little distracted, I'm sharing this on my Facebook page. So give me just a second as I do that.
Yes, of course. And probably for those of you who do remember Shelley, she has been guiding us before on the show. Shelley is an amazing human being, and I think we're lucky to have her in this time. Like, I think there's people in the world who have been trained through life experience, through our studies, and who are here right now because they're meant to be here. I think they're like beacons of light that have had all these previous experiences to be able to hold and to nurture the people going through fear at this specific point in life. So I'm super happy to have Shelley with us today. Shelley, can you please tell people about your background a little bit?
Okay. So there, now I'm not distracted anymore. So, a question like that, you would think, oh, that's so simple, but it's not simple because I've been doing this for over 25 years, 28, 29 years now, which just shocks me how fast the time goes. And at the time that I was beginning it, it was just me looking for answers, saying, what am I going to do in this life? There's something that I know for myself. I just had this purpose. I knew that there was a purpose that I had. I knew that there was something that I needed to do. I knew that something was waiting for me. And so by taking classes, learning Reiki, learning one thing to the next, suddenly here I am. And and so that's why, like what Luciana was talking about, it's just, we all get to that point, I guess, where you're listening to your instinct, you're listening to your intuition. And oftentimes I'll hear people say, but I don't know if I have it. And yes, absolutely, everyone does. And if you're questioning, am I really listening to my intuition or not? Your intuition is something that is always supportive of you. It's always there to help you. So if you find that you're trying things and it makes you feel better or it's very interesting to you, then your intuition. If you find that something in your mind is telling you, well, do this, and you're like, I don't think I want to do that. That doesn't resonate with me, not your intuition. So feel good, feel bad. And that's how you kind of can decide what is my intuition, what is helping me, and what direction do I need to go. I think I a little bit got off topic there. Sorry, Luciana.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And as you say, I think your background has, in a way, been preparing you for this time. So for those of you who are just listening to Shelley maybe for the first time, Shelley is a certified nurse, right? So you have a background.
Yeah, I'm a registered nurse, 40 years this year. I've been a registered nurse, and I have been in traditional medicine. I still work there part-time in an outpatient center. And so I've always felt as if I bridge what is traditional, what is non-traditional. And this is getting to be more and more important because I don't poo-poo the things that are traditional medicine because there's a lot of wonderful things in it that really can help people. I also feel that there's so much from the ancestors, so much from the earth, so much from the higher realms that can also help us. And therefore, don't choose just one or the other. The blend is what I think kind of helps people to live a healthy and fulfilled life.
I think also this is one of the gifts that Shelley brings for humanity, which is being a bridge, you know, because she does understand traditional medicine and she also understands that there's sometimes something more holding the reality for traditional medicine to be, you know. So I think these are the people that, in a way, are here to guide us through this process of change that we're already seeing around us. Actually, we're able to see reality transforming in front of our eyes. Some of us, because of this, experience a lot of fear, experience uncertainty. Many people really do not know what to do because they feel like the future is not really clear to them, and especially many people are having fear because they feel like they cannot control what is happening anymore, like they were able to before, you know. But many people had this idea that they could, and now they are being shown that it's like, you know, everybody's part of everything, and we never really had control. We're able to control how we react to things, right? But we are also part of a collective, so we also have to experience collectively.
Yeah, so as you were talking about that, one of the things that really was coming to my mind is there are different levels of control. Like someone that is in a place of controlling and manipulating is saying, I have a specific agenda, I want that exact agenda to take place, and I want these people around me to understand that agenda and to live that agenda. And that may be someone looking at their own life. However, when you are also just listening to your divinity, when you're listening to your higher self, and when you're creating the life that you want to have, there is that form of control, because you can choose, am I going to make this decision? Am I going to make that decision? Am I going to react to this? Am I going to get sucked into this? Or am I going to choose to let it go and come to a higher vibration or come to a different place? So in terms of control, to me, you're still controlling how you're going to choose to react to it. But the type of control that is working with you is when you are listening to your higher self, you are listening and experiencing life and allowing that to give you the options, and then you choose your options of what you want to do.
Yes, beautifully said. So, to focus on our topic for today, which has to do with how to release fear, the first thing that comes to my mind is the sense of being able to breathe. So, I believe breathing is the most amazing gift that we've received. So, it's the way in which the gift of life expresses itself through our bodies, right? We are in the middle of a pandemic where people can't breathe due to this virus. And we compare that to something that just happened in the States, which was the unfortunate death. Last words that he shared with us were, please, I can't breathe. It's like everything around us is telling us about this. So, what can we tell people about this?
So there's, whenever people ask me a question like that, I have one of those minds that goes on this potential, this potential, this potential, this potential. And so there's so many different ways to really think about breathing. I do remember back when I was very first learning how to meditate, that is the first thing you learn, is how to breathe. It's very hard to kind of quiet the chatter that you may have in your mind. And so by learning to breathe and then focusing on your breath, it helps to calm that chatter in your mind. So learning to breathe deeply is one of the most important things that an individual can do. One of the books I read, I didn't meet an individual like this, but I know there are several that were shamans. Native American, I know Luciana is a different type of shaman, but I remember reading this book when I was learning, and they were talking about breathing, where he could literally breathe in the whole intake for a minute and a half or 2 minutes. It was an extremely long, slow process. So when you think about that, all of that is just taking in oxygen, and all of that oxygen is going into you, and then that oxygen is circulating through your body. So when you talk about breathing, when you talk about focusing or using breathing as a means of focusing, it is also about bringing the oxygen into your body. And the more that you have oxygen flowing through your body, the more it helps you to be focused, and it helps you to be conscious, and it helps you to be aware. In addition to that, when you just, even if you're not doing that type of breathing, but you're just going to take a breath in and then you hold it for a moment, that pause that you have is that pause where you're just kind of suspended between intake and output of breath. And that is also giving you that split second or that moment or that time in which you are kind of balanced between the two. And so breathing is also a lot about balance. And it's about the balance of how much you're breathing in and putting out. And in talking about that, then when you get people that are so like we're going to talk about fear and releasing the fear and learning how to disconnect from it, you can use your breathing as one of the means of disconnecting from it. Because when there's so much fear, they're talking about it all over the internet, they're talking about it on the TV, you might be talking about it with your friends. And I am not in any way discounting or belittling what people are experiencing, because it's a very real thing right now. But I have no interest in giving energy to the fear of the moment. What I am more interested in doing is learning how to disconnect from the moment, allow myself to become centered within through my breath work, let myself raise up to a higher vibration, to a vibration of love, a vibration of compassion, a vibration that will allow me to bring in something that will transform the fear, so that I'm not just giving it more energy. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, it's horrible what happened. It is horrible what happened. I'm not saying it's not. You can do more good to transition the energy by bringing light and by bringing love and by bringing compassion into any situation. And learning to breathe and disconnect from things, and then learning to let your breath lift you up and then send light and energy and love into the moment, you're going to have way more of an impact, not only on the collective consciousness, but on the people involved.
That I think what you just said is very important for our listeners to understand, because we can be an agent of change by breathing. It's like, because breathing is what helps us ground here and be here, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
we can use breathing, as you said, to focus instead of in fear. And fear is out there in a way, and it's being replicated by all the people who are focusing on that and giving that their energy. But if,
Mm-hmm.
as you say, instead of doing that, we take some steps back and switch from being like a victim and just feeling all this fear and experiencing this fear, and we switch to actually observe what's happening. And as
Mm-hmm.
you were saying, we focus on this breathing, then breathing can actually be the first and most important and most easy way to release the fear, right?
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
Which is beautiful. So I think that is very important for our listeners to understand that we have the key, like we have the power to stop the fear, and the power is within.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I see you as a bridge, a person that's like meant to be a bridge for people to cross through from fear to hope, from fear to safety, from fear to love. Um, can we now explain to people what is channeling? Like, what do we mean by channeling, and how does it work?
Okay. Channeling in and of itself is another bridge. Speaking of the bridges, um, back in the 90s, as I was opening up to all of this stuff, I was very interested in Reiki, which is an energetic healing modality, and it uses Ray, which is the universal, and Ki or Chi, which is energy. It's using universal energy to bring it into a situation, a person, and create healing and change. So that just totally resonated with me because of me being a nurse. I was already a healer. Here's another way of working with energy and healing. So that was that first link to energy. That was that first link that I had to something that was higher than me, that was bigger than me, that was, intensely powerful and energetic. So then I would be working on people, and I kept hearing these messages, and sometimes these messages were from the individual's higher self. Sometimes they were from the angels, and people would always say, well, how do you know it was something that was a good energy? For some reason, when it comes to channeling or receiving messages or mediumship or any of those things, people have this tendency, and maybe it's just ingrained in them, to think, oh, that's the devil or that's negative. And how do you know it's not negative? Well, when someone is working with these energies all the time, first and foremost, if you tap into an energy that's negative, it feels horrible. It's like, little energies all over you, and it's horrible. So there is no doubt, not working with that energy, that is not a high vibration. Another way to know is to just say, are you of a high light vibration? And the answer, when you're working with universal energies, is always going to be a yes or a no, because they cannot lie. So that is, so channeling is basically receiving information from one source that comes into me. So that source can be the universal energy from Reiki. It can be the angels, Archangel Michael, Mother Mary, Jesus. It can be, the goddess of creation is an aspect of God, the feminine aspect. The last 4 years, in addition to all that, I channeled the universal light beings, which are 3 beings of light that are Pleiadian, Arcturian, and from the omniverse. So the person or the essence that someone is going to work with can come from many, many different forms. With mediumship, you're frequently talking to a loved one who has crossed over. So the source that it's coming from can be many different angles or many different aspects. That energy then comes into me. I feel it like it's a stream, or like it's a bridge, so to speak. And sometimes I feel like they're up here talking to me, and sometimes they merge with me and they're speaking forth out of me. So there's different ways of doing this. But the channel itself is, and I've taught classes in this, for years and years and years. And I took classes as I was learning how to, be constructive with it. But it's literally a channel. Like, if you think about that, a column of light, or a channel of light and energy that goes from you to this person, or group energy. You can channel group energies. And so for me as a channel, that's what I'm doing, is I'm linking to these other energies that are giving a higher perspective, that are coming from a pure space of love, that are coming from a vibration or a perspective that has information to help all of us as humanity. And I mean, if it's something like, I know that this is all good because I've done my homework. I've learned how to set up the channel way back in the day. I always am asking myself, does this feel good? Does this feel right? Does this feel true? And the messages that come through come with ease and a flow. And so all of these things are how I know that I'm in channel, that it's a clear channel, that it's bringing through the messages. So you ask a question, what is channeling? It's hard to give a really simple answer, as you can see. And everything I'm saying is not even the whole thing. It's just kind of a clump of what that is.
Yes, of course. And something that's very important in what you're saying also is that you're constantly referring to your emotions, right? So it's like our emotions seem to be a compass to know when we are on the right path, on the path of light, of love, of, beautiful
Mm-hmm.
things. And emotions are also, or, feelings and emotions can let us know when we are focused on what's best for us, and also when we're focused on something that might be challenging or something. So seems like
Indeed.
when you're talking about channeling, it happens the same way. You just know because it feels good, and you
Mm-hmm.
just know because it doesn't feel that good. So it's
Right.
like emotions and feelings might be a compass for this.
That's a great way of expressing it. They are a compass, and they do give it, give you that way of perceiving or interpreting what is happening there. But as you were saying that, your mental body, your mind, your thoughts, that gives it, to me, it's like that gives it the structure to interpret the emotions. Because sometimes when you're in just this pure emotion, it might be without words or without any sort of interpretation. And so your mental body or your mind has a way of interpreting your emotions, and that's one of the ways that they work together. And what's really important to understand in all of this too is that you can channel or you can connect to energies, but it might be limited by what your experience is. So it's really important to kind of push push back, push into something bigger, push into something more, push and allow yourself to grow into something else, because otherwise you're just going in a circle in that same space.
Thank you. And so we've been talking about the importance of breathing, of what's happening with the pandemic, of what just happened with the death of this person, and also with the interesting ability that you have that can allow us to connect with that brighter side of life, and that love and support that we always have available for us. So maybe we can now share with our listeners which message we can receive from this love source, or from these, amazing beings that you're able to connect with. And maybe we can ask a question that has to do with what we've been talking about. How can we release fear? And what does this have to do with the pandemic that we all have co-created, and with the death and the abuse and all the things that are in a way happening, in which we are like stuck. It's like in a way we're stuck with that fear-based reality.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Okay, so I have a group of energies, angels, light beings, and I could sit here and name names, but this group is very fluid. So even if I said the names, it's easier, I think, just to call them my group, and they're going to be the ones that are talking. Just a point in case, because some people may have this question: are they male? Are they female? They're both. And each of us, as we go up into our higher self, we have our male aspect, our female aspect, and so we are all a blend of that. So too, these energies that speak through me are a blend of that, and it may come through at one point very masculine, it may come through at one point very feminine, and it's all just this beautiful kind of combined energy. So I'm going to get quiet for just a second, and I would ask each of you to just take a moment and close your eyes, take that deep breath in, as we were speaking about earlier. And as you take in that breath, allow it to just fill you up. And as you're breathing out, just kind of gently let go. Let go of anything that may be on your mind or anything that is holding you back. Greetings. We are Shelley's group, to give us a name. We don't always have a specific name, but we are a group of the combined energies that are working very diligently with humanity upon the earth at this time. Transformation is here. And any time that things are changing from what you are used to having or what is the norm for you, it creates fear in one form or another. That fear can be something that's just a niggler saying, be careful out here, be careful you don't cross the street without looking, be careful. So fear can be something that helps you. However, fear can also be something that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then before you know it, it is closing you in and holding you back and keeping you from moving forward. So this is perhaps on a personal level, the way in which fear can have an impact upon you. For anyone that's listening to this, close your eyes for a moment. Once more, breathe into your heart center. And as you breathe into your heart center, have a conscious choice to just tap into any fear that you may have within you. Just let that fear come up from within you, bring it up, and let it go. I could feel a wave of energy that just flowed away from Shelley as we were doing this, but also from each one of you. Sometimes in your daily life, you may need to do that multiple times during the day, sometimes just randomly. So again, take another breath in, breathing, working with your heart center, which is the higher which is represented by the fifth dimension and these higher vibrations. You breathe into your heart, connect to any fear. This time, let's connect to the fear that's in the collective consciousness right now. The fear that you see on the TVs and on your internet and on the various broadcasts. So tap into that fear that everyone is hooked into and let that fear come up into this moment. Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. Let it go. Again, there was a big wall or a big wave of energy that was just released. Speaking of the fear, specifically around George Floyd, the death and what has happened to society there. And it's not just the United States. We see all around the world, people are feeling fearful. And some of that fear may be because massive changes are taking place. And everyone may be ready for the change. They may want the change, but change creates fear. So if it's a personal level or if it's a global level, we want to tap into that fear again, because fear is an energy. Fear can be palpable in certain situations. So whatever that fear is that's around the world, conscious or unconscious, we want to just bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. Clear it out once more. Woof, that one. Shelley in particular felt it in her throat. So that was sometimes perhaps fear of speaking out, fear of speaking your truth. And when you are living your life, or when you're having these experiences that go on, when they speak about people having a peaceful demonstration where they want to just speak their truth, they want to speak how they feel about something, and then it becomes violent and it becomes a riot. These are two totally separate things. It's important for people to speak up, to speak their truth. However, that truth and that communication has got to be in a form of mutual respect. Respect for yourself. I've got something to say. And respect for the people that you're talking to or working with. And then when you get into just mindless violence, let's just break things and break down and steal. And that is very old energy, low vibration. So that old energy, low vibration, tap into that again. And let that go. Whew, already by this last time, I could feel there was a lot less energy being released, because it can be released that quickly. And every one of humanity is different. You're all vibrating or living at your own rhythm and your own pace. So however you tap into that is going to be the alignment from you. And you can do the same thing. Tap into it. Whew, clear it out. And what are we doing, Luciana? We're breathing. We're expelling. We're clearing through our breath. And as you do so, then you feel more and more of your own energies rising, being able to speak your truth, being able to do so from that place of respect. And around the world, people talk about races. You know, in the US, Black Lives Matter. Indeed, they do. All lives matter. And we know when we say that, because Shelley heard it on the radio the other day, no, you don't get it. You don't get it. I'm different. Every culture is different. Every culture brings their own unique aspect to the whole. And so, yes, absolutely, everyone is different and everyone is expressing their own selves. But until society can begin to say, I see you for who you are, I see me for who I am, and we are in alignment. That is what's taking place. You don't think so, But that's what's coming up underneath all of this and is bringing up all this old energy that's been percolating for, in some cases, hundreds or thousands of years. And it needs to be cleared out so that people can have that mutual respect. People can have that consideration and honor that no one is better than another. You are all people on the earth. You are all humanity, and you all have so much to share. Whew. Take another deep breath in, this time breathing in the air and the energy for who you are as a person, who you are as your higher self and your divinity, who you are as love. And then as you breathe out, let go anything at all that is outside of that. We thank you for this opportunity. We will be in the background, but we'll let Shelley just kind of be in the foreground again. So when we're doing interviews like this, when we're doing interviews, not Shelley, when we're doing interviews, we're frequently just sitting here on her shoulder and she'll flow back and forth between us talking and her talking. But this last little message, this last little bit has been we, the angels and light beings, with a message for society and a message for humanity. That the message of one, we are all one, and what hurts one hurts them all. Be in the flow of that love and acceptance. Hallelujah. Okay, so, like they said, they're still here. They're not far. So if people had questions, we could certainly, if they want an answer, it'll be both me and them talking.
Yes. Let me.
I never know what's going to happen. Yeah, I never know what's going to happen. As you know, Luciana, whenever I go into channel, it's like they just say what they want to say. They just talk. But I really appreciated how they said that about humanity and society. And I think that really respect is kind of the foundation right now for what we need to understand. The pandemic went around the entire world. It caused the whole world to sit back, take a deep breath, reboot, and now we're coming back from that.
I think it was a beautiful message because it's an amazing thing what they just did, because it's like they took all these separate ideas that we had been mentioning, and they put them all together, and they gave us a higher perspective on all of that as a whole. So I think it was a beautiful message, really.
Thank you so much.
Really, no, really, and everything was so in tune. That everything that they were saying was so in tune with what's actually being conveyed through you, that it's really, I think it was a beautiful message.
Thank you so much.
Super interesting because what they just said is that they just put into words what's actually happening in every level, because it's not only happening inside of us, it's also happening outside of us, and it's also happening with our neighbors, and it's not just one person that just died. It's not just the people who have died because of coronavirus. It's that all of us, in a way, in different degrees, are experiencing this process. And we are all being like participants of the same reflection. It's like we are all reflections of everybody, and we are all together going through this as one. I really hope that our listeners can understand what has just been said, because it's truth, and it's a very deep and important truth that we all need to tap into to change what needs to be changed inside of us, so that outside of us things can change. The more we tap into this, the more we will be able to make conscious changes that will positively affect everything that's around each of us. And that's how I think change is going to come forth. It's going to come forth through each of us who can actually tap to what you just said. And when they are able to realize that in their own personal lives, then this will shine on. And maybe this is what's happening. Maybe this is why it's been so difficult for many people, because it's time to change, and no more delays are possible. Like, it is time to change now, not tomorrow, not next day, and it's like it's here, and we have just to go through that, you know. So in a way, and something that I love from what you say is that in a way change is already happening, and we are
Mm-hmm.
being carried safely
Mm-hmm.
with all of those we love, with all of those who are here, with all of those who already crossed, and with all these light beams that are already taking us through this and guiding us. So it was also beautiful to realize through what you said that all these beings are with us in this process.
Well, thank you so much for everything that you've mentioned. And I have to totally agree with you that the change did take place. My perception is that the earth itself shifted into in a conscious manner, meaning thoughts and potential for the collective consciousness. I think all that shifted back in like 2012. And it's taken 8 years to have society catch up to what happened in 2012. I think all of us that have already been sensitive to the energies, that have already have been aware that a change took place, a pretty significant change took place. Some say like around in the southern hemisphere, the summer solstice, the winter solstice in the north, that December of 2012 was like a key, like a page got turned or a key got turned. It was like literally inside of me, I remember feeling a click. Okay, now we're here. And ever since then, the higher vibrations have been easier to come into the earth to help people. And ascension is basically shifting into a higher vibration. So since that time, they've been more readily available to people. And as these higher light vibrations are floating around in your everyday reality, that's what's causing people to question things, to want transparency, to say, I'm not going to put up with what we've put up with all these years. No, that's not acceptable to me. And where so many people, we've had multiple times during that time when there have been issues that have been on the news or something where, you know, there was brutality or something. Look at all the bullying that you saw on the internet that was taking place. So we've had multiple different ways in which we could already make a choice. I'm not going along with that. I'm not going to trust in that. I'm not going to believe in that. And so now it just happens to be culminating at this time where as a planet, we cannot say, I'm going to ignore that. That doesn't matter anymore. As a planet, we are waking up to the knowledge that life is about compassion. Life is about living in harmony with one another. And life is about recognizing that the diversity that is present throughout the world is what gives it strength, as opposed to the diversity is what tears you apart. So it's the strength that you have from the multiple cultures, the multiple races. It's about everybody recognizing that you have value, have you have something to give to others. And as you allow yourself to believe that, and as you allow this support that's been coming in for year after year after year, instead of feeling anxious, say, how can I step into this and feel confident? So find that confidence that comes from listening to your higher self, from being true to yourself, from just seeing what, you know, how your life plays out.
So one of the things that you and your team just said, and I loved, is something that had I was telling you been around me for a few days before talking to you, and it is that all lives matter, right? It's not that these lives matter than these other lives. It's like all our lives matter, and
Mhm.
respect is basically what glues us all together, you know, like tolerance and patience, and having respect for the differences that this other has, because we are all different from each other. There's no one person alike.
Mhm.
So we are all different, you know, and not only
Period. There you go. Can't change that. We are all different. Yeah.
No, and, you know, so because we are all different, the more we experience our differences, we are able to respect the differences in other more,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Yes.
that's what makes us one. That's what makes us whole. Like when you were talking about um, uh, goddess of creation being an aspect of God, I think that we all are aspects of
Yes,
that
we are.
oneness. And so that's the beauty in it. You know, that's the beauty of being alive. And the more we respect our differences, the more we are able to experience this as,
Mhm.
as you know, a huge family, a family of human beings. So I think you, in a way, said that we are all the change that is happening. Is
Mhm.
that we are the change. It's not that the change is outside of yourselves. It's in a way, it's like we are the change.
Mhm. And going along with your whole focus of how you are living and working with others, inner healers, healing within is that way of learning to listen to within, and being in touch with yourself is how people, honestly, like as we've been talking about this, respect has come up a lot of times. And if someone is disconnected, or they really don't like themselves, they're not happy with themselves, it's hard to feel respect for yourself. So it begins with that one little step of saying, I'm fine. I'm fine. I may not have the life I want. I may not be the person I want to be. I may not be where I'm going to be 5 years from now, but I'm okay where I am right now. And when you do that, that's that first step of opening up to connecting and understanding where you are right now. And as you do that, then you can begin to say, okay, well, let's expand this conversation. Let's expand it to then say, okay, this is what I have in my life right now. I'm not too keen about this part of it. How can I change that? And then you begin to, by listening, that simple listening to yourself is the biggest thing that anyone can do, because to respect that you are receiving messages, that you are in alignment, that you are making changes. I went off on a tangent because they kind of came in for that. Um, but but truly, I think what I hear from so many people is, I don't know how to listen to within. I don't know if I'm connected within. That breathing that we did at the very beginning, and that learning to breathe into your heart. I mean, your heart literally is, your heart and lungs is literally where you have the oxygen transfer and the blood transfer, where it goes from venous to artery, you know, that basic living in your life. So breathing into that is connecting in your heart again and again and again and again. Don't expect that, well, okay, they said, no, don't say that. But anyway, I was going to say, if you're living a particular life, if you have issues in your life, if you've been trying to make changes and it's not working, I was going to say, don't expect that you wake up tomorrow and it's totally different, because chances are it won't be totally different. But you need to learn to listen to and trust those little baby steps that you may be taking. And so many people will just ignore them. They're like, oh, that didn't mean anything. Oh, that was nothing. That was so little. Well, listening to those baby steps and listening and respecting yourself in those small ways lead to the bigger ways. Now, what the group was saying is, no, someone could wake up the next day and have all this. Yes, absolutely. You can create a massive change immediately if you so choose. However, my personal take on it is that people's minds don't allow them to go there. They keep them inside that bit of a structure. So the little things help to push back your imagination, or help to push back your perception, and then more and more and more it becomes a snowball.
So what you were just saying, it's super interesting because just before we connected, I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, like, I was just looking around me and I was saying, wow, I really have everything I need. And then I got corrected, and the phrase turned, and it changed into, I need everything I have. And I was like, and then I realized that, yeah, that's actually more accurate, right? Because yeah, it's like everything I have, it's like what I need, and I do. Like there's nothing lacking. Like and I think that's in a way what you were also saying,
Mm-hmm.
because when we start realizing that everything that we have is because we need it right now, everything,
Mm-hmm.
like even the things that we react uh, to, and we say no, even the things that we reject, like everything that we have, it's what we need right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have this breath, like we have this, the very fact that we right now are breathing shows us that we have what we need right now. And when we actually realize that, I think that we can start feeling gratitude and appreciation. And I
Mm-hmm.
think gratitude and appreciation is what takes us from whatever rejecting point we were before to using the compass of our emotions, our feelings, to
Mm-hmm.
be in a different state. And it's beautiful because nothing changed. Like I kept on looking at my surroundings, things were just the same. Nothing had changed, but in reality, everything had changed because my frequency changed as soon as I started feeling gratitude. Because yes, I need everything that I have right now in my life. And I think that's
Exactly.
beautiful, yes.
Well, and another thing that goes along with that that I was thinking about, because I can hear so many people saying, I don't need this person that's bugging me. I don't need to feel stressed that I don't have enough money. I don't need, whatever the hardships are in their life. However, what I have found so often is that those hardships are what really push you into moving in a new direction, because you don't want to stay there. You want to get away from that. So if you can begin to think about the hardships in your life, what that does is that pushes you forward into change, because sometimes you get stagnant. I've been like this for 20 years and nothing's different. Well, then something will come along that'll give you a nudge and help you to move into a new direction. But when you talked about your frequency, I mean, that is exactly what all of this is about. And you vibrate a particular vibration, and you notice the things that are in alignment with your vibration. So you can imagine if you change that frequency and suddenly you're vibrating differently, even though your whole life may seem exactly the same, your perception is changing. And as your perception changes, that's when you begin to realize that all that stuff I've been asking for was actually here, but it just looked different than I thought.
That is,
And and maybe those things that I thought I needed to have, I didn't really need to have. They would have just camouflaged something else. So this is all just, I love conversations like this, because this is life. This is everyday reality.
yes, and it's also interesting because we started talking about fear and how breath can help us through, to release fear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting because it's like we keep on, the more we reject whatever we are rejecting right now, the more we are stuck in fear. So
Mm-hmm.
when we start breathing, we start releasing maybe
Mm-hmm.
control or something that has us attached to this fear, and then we can go from a position of just complaining about everything
Mm-hmm.
to actually realizing what we have now. Like when we think about being in isolation for so many days, there's
Mm-hmm.
so many people complaining about, oh, I'm isolated, and now this is something I cannot do, and I don't have this, and I don't have that, and so many people are complaining so much. And then I started realizing that because we are focusing and spending our energy in complaining, we are not focusing and spending our energy in realizing what is it that we already have, right? We
Indeed.
are so focused on what we don't have that we spend that energy that we have and that focus and that time and that breath that we have. It's like we spend our breath in complaining, and this gets us stuck in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And if we allow ourselves to feel and to breathe, then we can release that fear.
And so much of that is just unconscious. And this is number one, a hook that you may have into the collective consciousness, and everybody else's fear is triggering it inside of you. And number two, so often I've said to people, well, look at how you're looking at that. Look at what it is. You can change your thoughts. They're like, what are you talking about? No, you can't. So many people just living their everyday life don't really understand how they can choose how they're looking at life, that they can change from everything that they don't have into what they, and for some people, I remember I've said, so you woke up this morning, you're alive, that's something positive. No, it's not positive. I don't have blah, blah, blah. And I said, stop, stop, stop. You woke up, you took a breath, you got dressed, you have the earth around you, you've got trees, you've got grass, you've got rocks, there is something around you that you can shift your energy and begin to realize, oh, look at what I have over here. Because someone that is completely centered inside of themselves and in that downward spiral, it is very hard to look outside and to find something. So that's why I frequently would say to them, well, then look at the tree. You've got a tree right there, and focus on the tree. And then Luciana and I were talking earlier about how the earth can literally talk to us. The earth, the rocks, the trees, it can communicate with us. And literally taking a choice or having a choice to say, hey, I'm going to go look at that tree today, you've shifted. And so it might be only for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, but as you do it one time, you'll do it a second time and then another time. And it becomes a wave, so that your perception, your frequency, your choice, all of these things can change very, very quickly. And it begins with, and I had a piece of paper here. Sometimes someone might need to write on a piece of paper, look for something happy. You know, if they forget, if they are not in that habit of doing that, look for something happy. Look for the tree, look for the grass, walk in the grass. So if someone is really stuck in that energy, because I'm feeling that people are saying, but I just can't do anything, I'm just stuck. So if you're really stuck in that energy, find the simplest of things, be with it for a moment, and then go back to your spiral if you want to. But the more that someone does that, it doesn't take long to get out of that spiral. You need to want to get out of that spiral. You want change in your life, you have to want it. You have to open to the potential. You have to receive that alignment, and then you have to allow it to come into your life.
One more thing we should talk about for our listeners is the worth we have been giving to our breath. You know, it's like our breath has so much worth in it.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't realized that really.
Well, when you begin to use your breath as a means of creating change, not just a means of giving yourself oxygen so you stay alive, but if you begin to recognize how the breath itself, your breathing techniques, and any way that you incorporate breathing in a very conscious, intentional manner is what's going to make these changes and these differences.
Okay. So thank you very much, Lily, for being with us today. And
Oh, you're welcome.
for your team for supporting us and sharing this amazing message. That again, for me, was complete. Like there was nothing else to say after that. They already said everything. So thank
Well,
you very much. Yes.
well, you're very welcome, Luciana. And I just love you. I enjoy your presence. I enjoy this time of chatting with you today. We've done it so many times over the years, and it's just you help people to feel relaxed and open, and so I really appreciate having this time to share that love and that openness.
Thank you so much. So for those of you who might want to contact you, you said that you were sometimes teaching people how to do this. You were also sharing private sessions with people who need this. Where can they find you?
Goddesslight.net is my website, and you can see years and years worth of channels that have been transcribed, or listen to them or watch the videos. On Facebook, it's Goddess Light also, and on YouTube and Instagram. I cannot figure out Instagram. I don't seem to. Anyway, so you can find me through social media. Oh, I'm on Twitter too. I don't do a whole lot with Twitter, but anyway. So my website, comments, but I'm always active on YouTube and Facebook. So those are kind of my primary. But there or the website or Shelley@goddesslight.net. Any of those things.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I really hope we can have you again soon. It's really amazing to talk to you.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm open whenever it works out.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Inner Healers, a radio show dedicated to sharing the latest news on integrative health, overall well-being, and spirituality. You can follow Inner Healers on Blog Talk, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. My name is Luciana Stiglitz. Join me on Inner Healers' next episode to remember you can heal from within. You are an inner healer.